Triton Digital has acquired Omny Studio, an enterprise podcast hosting company, for an undisclosed sum. The Sydney Morning Herald estimates the company's value well into the millions, and founder Ed Hooper posts a bit about the company history. Podcast Day 2019 is, as you can hear, underway in London. The event is sold out, and it includes speakers from NPR, the BBC's Brexit Cast, Google, Podnews, and many more. Speaking at Podcast Day, Neil Carruth from NPR shared details of Up First. 83% of the Up First audience is 44 or younger, which is a sharp contrast with older radio audiences. 81% say they listen to the show every day. And more than 40% say they've never listened to Morning Edition, NPR's morning radio news programme before, of which Up First is a broadcast segment. Carruth describes the podcast as, quote, profitable. Spotify has launched the Daily Drive, their personalised playlist for commuting that includes music and selected news podcasts. A shareholder of podcast host Libsyn, called KMAC, is continuing to express dissatisfaction against the current Libsyn board. Its latest filing highlights salary and bonus for some board members, and KMAC is drumming up support for a special meeting, but it does need 25% of shareholders to request one. PowerPress 7.4.3, a WordPress plugin for podcasters, has been released. It includes special code to enhance discoverability of podcasts by Google Podcasts. Workit from WNYC Studios has released details of its salary survey into podcast pay and gender splits in the industry. And Auphonic, an audio polishing service, has published a long article about resisting the loudness war and still being compliant with major platforms. In podcasts today, Social Minds is the UK's first ever dedicated social media marketing podcast. Marvel's Wolverine, The Lost Trail, gets a full release on July the 8th. WTOP and Podcast One have announced a new true crime podcast called 22 Hours, An American Nightmare, featuring a case nightmares are made of. And the writer of Beef and Dairy Network, Benjamin Partridge, said at Podcast Day today that when the BBC started broadcasting his podcasts, it didn't result in an increase in audience. They're different people, he said. And that's the latest from our newsletter at podnews.net.